This is what it is, okay? I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now, you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now, water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, welcome. This is TubeNote number 1. Now, my life, my CV, my career, whatever a career is, has been a potpourri of chances, risk-taking, epic fails, terrible fails, appalling decisions, some really good decisions, and every now and again a tiny little epic win. They've been little tiny stepping stones on my strange path to personal transformation. I'm a creative who looks through the eyes of somebody who's been doing businessy kind of stuff for 25 years. It's really odd to think back about where I started out as. If my 21-year-old me was sitting in the room with me now, he'd probably despise me. And I'm really pleased with that. And I've come to realize that change is relentless, it's exciting, it's swift and it's agile, but it can also be huge and scary and brutal and terrifying and dangerous. But it's my change and I get to define it. And when I define it, I get to control it. And if I can control the change in my life, the transformation of myself and the way that the world around me works and the way that I do work and the stuff I do and all, then you can do it. If I can do it, then you can do it too. This is what this TubeNote is about. This is about the shape of change. And I suppose this video has like tips in it, simple tips and observations for you about how I see change and why I see change going wrong and why I see change not happening, or when I see transformation processes not kind of kicking in the way that people think they should. And the first one, observation 1, change doesn't happen when you focus on the wrong thing. Now, what does that mean? The humans, us, you, me, everybody, human, are notoriously bad at focusing on the right thing. They're very, very good at focusing on the wrong thing. And focusing on the wrong thing tends to lead to disastrous decisions and appalling consequences. Mao Zedong, for example, thought it would be an amazing idea if he concentrated his efforts as part of his 4-pest campaign to rid China of pestilence, plague and hunger by killing all of the sparrows. The sparrows were eating the grain, more sparrows, less grain, more famine. Focus on killing the sparrows. But what Mao Zedong forgot, the Eurasian sparrows that he was killing, were also eating the insects that were plaguing the grain. Less sparrows, more insects, less grain, more famine. He focused on the wrong thing. And had Mao Zedong spent a tiny little bit of time researching into the history of plagues and famines, throughout the history of plagues and famines, he would have discovered superstitious Europeans during the Dark Ages had made a similar mistake. Convinced that our feline friends, the cats, were somehow in league with the devil and therefore responsible for the plague, they decided to kill all of the cats. Killing the cats let the rats run wild. Letting the rats run wild let the fleas run wild. Lots of fleas biting lots of humans, millions of dead. The plague ran wild, focused on the wrong thing. But it's not only communist dictators and suspicious Europeans who focus on the wrong things and make disastrous mistakes. No, businesses do it too, whether it's Blockbuster Films not buying Netflix or Yahoo not buying Google. Focusing on the wrong thing and poor decision-making leads to poor transformations, disastrous transformations. Blockbuster Films, gone. Yahoo, disappeared into a name that nobody can seem to remember. The resistance to change, to focusing on the killing of cats and the killing of sparrows, can lead to disastrous results. It can lead to killing opportunity. Kodak, for example. Kodak had all of the technology it needed to survive. In fact, it should be leading all of the markets that are being eaten up now by Facebook, Amazon, Google, and Apple. In fact, it shouldn't be called GAFA at all. If Kodak had done the right thing, focused on the right thing, we should be talking about GAFAC. Yes, but Kodak chose to focus on film. Yes, people would eventually want to take more photographs, hundreds of millions and billions of more photographs than ever before. But it was how they would want to share those photographs that would eventually kill Kodak. Kodak died not because it didn't have the technology. Kodak died because it did have the technology, but wasn't organizationally positioned to allow it to flourish. And Kodak died because it didn't have an environment, it didn't have a culture of change. It didn't have a culture of being able to focus on the right things, the things that have a real positive impact on the business. And by doing that, and by not having that, they allowed, by not being able to change, it opens up a gap in the market for small, agile, naughty businesses to fly in and blow your Death Star of market share out of the universe. They're out there hunting for your status quo. Change eats status quo for lunch. Nom, 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 nom. It suffers no fools. The market's moving too fast to forgive the slow, the sluggish, the unsure, those amongst us who are focusing on the wrong thing. Change is a force that it requires us to focus on the things that really, really matter. You, your team, your people, your friends, your creativity. It forces you to focus on your own ability and desire to learn more, to grow more, and to become much, much more curious. It's a punishing process. It never stops. But it's rewarding. And it only works, you can only get it done if you focus on the right things. Which leads me to observation number 2. Observation number 2 is really, really simple. Focus on the right thing. So what is the right thing? What really, really does matter? You know, we spend so much time being told that we need to get digitalized, do digital, be digital, does that matter? Does Twitter, Facebook, Slack, Yammer, Google Application Service, WordPress, Instagram, YouTube, does Facebook, AI and autonomous driving, drone deliveries, afterless supermarkets, and it's dumped into this thing called digital transformation. Does any of this stuff matter? Forget digital. Forget the word digital. Take it out of your vocabulary. Get rid of it. Erase it. Take the word digital, write it on a piece of paper, shred it, never use it again. Forget the word digital. It isn't helpful, and it neither describes what we're aiming for or where we eventually want to get to. Do we talk about wind transformation? Do we talk about electricity transformation or water transformation? Of course we don't. That would be silly. So why do we talk about digital transformation? It's absolute nonsense. Forget the word digital and focus on the word transformation. This is the right thing. The term digital transformation, is a consultant's trick. It gives the German Chamber of Commerce something to talk about, something to just pump into their incredibly annoying magazine now. And it gives consultants from big global consultancy companies something to sell. But the real value for you as somebody who's just trying to get on in the world, whether you're self-employed or an artist, or you're running an ensemble, or you're running a small business or a medium-sized business, or you have a huge global corporation, is focusing on the transformation bit and how you can let the future invade your lives now. Because digital used to be this kind of way of describing something scientific in the future. It was so science fiction-y. It was so 2001 Space Odyssey, but when it's 2018 now, Let's think about the world in which we live in today. A huge amount of people on this planet have a supercomputer in their pocket. And there's quite a number of people who use voice commands for turning the lights on and off in their office or at home. We live in a network-enabled world. It would be ridiculous to suggest that there is this non-digital world and a digital world. It's just one world. It's what Tom Goodwin calls the thin internet, a pervasive layer of internet connectedness that's just everywhere and in everything. Which brings me to observation number 3. Transformation is a verb. It's a doing word. It's a getting stuff done word. It's a discipline that can be learned. It can be practiced. It can be unlearned, relearned, passed on, taught. You can learn it. You can do it. Much like the practice of, I don't know, making a cup of tea or making a work of art or building a business. Transformation is just the process of finding a way of getting something new and remarkable done. It's not about understanding Twitter and Facebook or Salesforce or Slack or Google Docs or Google application servers or any of those things. But it's about understanding how you can use these kind of things to help you get your new stuff done. It's about building mental models and processes that help you build the best version of you that the world has ever seen. Transformation is the way of closing the gap between an exponentially accelerating world and us as makers, creators, business people, salespeople, entrepreneurs, startups, business leaders, and managers. It's about finding ways of learning something new, and it's about celebrating the fact that we found a new way of doing something, embracing this process of transformation and change, and creating a culture where that's allowed to happen. Which leads me neatly to observation number 4. What you do with your time on this planet is your responsibility. If you're sat in an office somewhere waiting for your line manager or your director or the board to magically transform the business that you're working in, it's not going to happen. But we're living in a time full of opportunity and tools and expertise and the possibility to help ourselves and be brave enough to have an idea and step up to the plate and just get stuff done and build a better version, the best version of you, yourself, that the world has ever seen. Strategies and tools and agile designy thinking and putting post-its up on glass walls and lots of whiteboard work, that's really, really great. And understanding all of that thinking and understanding how digital platforms can help you build stuff is good. And it's important, but the most important tool in your toolbox is you. You have to become the change leader in this transformation war. Transformation is all about you. It's about the skills you bring to the table today, the skills you want to bring to the table tomorrow, the skills you want to bring to the table next year, the year after, and in the future. If you want to change the future of anything in this world, whether it's the work you do, the work you create, if you want to make the future of this planet a safer place that's less dystopian and feels less like Orwell and Huxley, then it starts with you. Seriously, if you're sat in that organization, in your cupboard, in your cubicle, in your studio, in your office, waiting for things to change, if you're reading the newspaper or watching the news or reading Donald Trump's tweets in the evenings and you're terrified by the future, there's nobody's going to come along and change it for you. You have to take the first step. You have to create that environment in which change can happen, in which things can become better, in which transformations can happen. And there's nowhere in there that the word digital happens. Kurt Vonnegut, the American author, was fascinated by what he called the shape of stories. And he could map any given story and any given antagonist or protagonist within that story on a simple axis. Started at the top, which are good times, went down to bad times, and then at the beginning is a birth, and then Exodus. That was his axis. That's how it would work. And one of his favorite shapes was what he called the $1 billion story shape. And it starts off okay, and then things become dreadful and awful. And then through hard work, determination, graft, learning, practice, they fight their way out of that bad space and things become great again and they live happily ever after. For Kurt, every single story had a shape. That's the shape of change. I believe that every single transformation has a shape too. We're living in dangerous and exciting and scary times, but it's down to us to map and define what kind of change we want to bring into our lives, into our working lives, into our personal lives. The society, the world in which we're living and building, yes, it's all terribly exciting. Yes, it's all terribly terrifying. Yes, it can seem utopian on one hand and fascinatingly, disastrously dystopian on the other hand. But we are being offered an incredible opportunity here. The opportunity to change the world in which we live through the technologies that are given to us right now. This isn't only an opportunity to discuss the shape of change. This is an opportunity to shape the change ourselves. So that's it. That was the first TubeNote. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give us a thumbs up. I believe that's the thing you do. Also, if you would subscribe to my channel, I would be very, very honored if you would subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe to the channel.